Welcome back, guys, to J&J Dynasty. I'm going to be going over some damage that I've done to myself. All right. Basically, I'm going to go over and show you how I'm terrorizing my terrible team and making it worse. Right. See if this is right. Oh, there's the thumbnail. So that's what we want to be looking at, I guess. Photo. All right, let's put that in there. So I'll show you the little team as it goes, and I'll pop on the slideshow, which I was actually using as the thumbnail. Technically, it's not, but we'll use it that way. All right, so let's get into it. So this is the league. It's an MFL league that I'm in, and basically it's a one quarterback PPR league. So low stakes. It's only $60 a year, but I got into this one with some friends to try and dominate. So basically, I'm going to go through the entire list of everything that's happened. So at the end of the last year, I got killed with just had a terrible year. Wound up having to cut Russell Wilson. Wound up being down to one quarterback. Picked up some scrubs. So this is what I had on my total roster at the end of last year. Not very good, but there's some good pieces in there. You know, Deshaun Watson. If he has a top 6 year again, that could be very good coming back. You know, as far as that goes. Barkley, Gus Edwards, Najee Harris, Kamara. So a couple of good running backs there. 3 good starters. Donovan Knight. Well, he was a pickup because I was on a playoff run, and he was making some hay there for a little while. At any rate, so then I got Spiller as a long shot with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, what is now currently the Miami Sound Machine combined. So I wound up getting those guys also at the end of last year. And Pierre Strong, yay! The wide receivers. So I mean, I've got a solid 3 running backs, depending on Kamara's suspension issue, and then also the Miami Sound Machine after that with Mostert and Jeff Wilson. So running backs on this team and quarterback, as long as Watson comes back as a top 6 type quarterback, is looking pretty good. So then we get into the receivers, which gets a little bit more dicey, and tight end I'm rock solid. So wide receivers, I went through the season with David Bell, who never produced, was hurt all year. Treylon Burks, again, a guy I didn't get anything out of. I got sniped. I had picked 1-5, and I thought I was going to get Garrett Wilson. But the guy jumped up and took him in front of me instead of taking Burks. So I had to take Burks, the best value. Could have taken Olave, but I wound up going with Burks, and that's where that is. So I wound up getting Brandon Cooks also in a trade at the end of last year. Also Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Terrace Marshall, Josh Palmer, Alec Pierce, Tolbert, Travis Kelce, as I said. So good quarterback, good running backs, great tight end. So I thought I was really in a good situation to really perform well in the playoffs, but it just didn't happen. I also got Ty Montgomery and Darnell Mooney down there. So Darnell Mooney had a little bit of love. I think I actually wound up cutting Ty Montgomery, so you're not going to see his name mentioned further in this video, even though I'm going to go over everything that I have as far as an asset and what I've done with it. So let's go to the next slide. That's the complete team at the end of 2023. So I think I did actually make a trade. I think it did. I got Brendan Cooks at the end of last year. So when I came into this, it wasn't very good as far as what it was looking like here. So let's end a few of these things. I had very little draft capital here. As you can see, I had one first round, a second round pick, and 2/3 this year, and I was down to a first and a third for future. So I had little and or no draft capital to do much. And as we know right now, 1-7 is kind of like the cliff. I mean, it's the bottom of the cliff. You got your top 6 guys who are pretty much chalk with Gibson and Bijan, number 1, of course. And you got the 4 receivers that were drafted in the first round with Flowers, Addison, Quentin Johnson, and Smith and Jigba. So that gets you to 6. And I had picked number 7 because I made the playoffs and crapped the bed. So not a whole lot of draft capital for this year and for next year, right? So we're going to go through and I'm going to talk about what I actually did as far as trades with other teams. So this was trade number 1 that I made this year. All right, on my C2 team here. So traded Bateman. I got Bateman and Paris Campbell and Kyle Phillips, but I only gave up Pierre Strong, Terrace Marshall, Darnell Mooney, and a 4th round pick. So Mooney was the big piece in there along with Terrace Marshall, if you remember, and this was way back in March when I made this trade. So again, this video is gonna tell you that you need to be trading all year round in Dynasty because this is what you can do, right? So this is why you play Dynasty, is to be able to make trades, to maneuver and get your team right prior to the season, not just wait till the draft, try and make some moves and nobody's doing anything. All right. So pretty good deal on my part. I mean, I wound up getting Bateman, Paris Campbell, and Kyle Phillips. I thought Paris Campbell might land in a nice spot. He landed with the Giants. It says New York Giants now because the software is updated. He hadn't landed anywhere at that point. This was back in March 21st. So this was everything. Pre-free agency and pre-draft. So let's get to trade number 2. So then what I did was I traded Paris Campbell because I needed, as you saw, I had no draft capital, right? And I already gave up another 4th round pick. Let me check that out, right? I gave up a 25 4th, which because we just got the 25, so I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks to be able to trade. So now I'm already digging in at 25 draft capital. So when I made this trade, after I got Paris Campbell, I've actually traded Paris Campbell to this guy 3 times at least now, maybe 4 over 3 years. So I wound up picking him up off of waivers and trading him to him. I was happy to get 2 4th round picks for him just to replenish a few of my draft picks, right? Because I had so little. So at least that got me 25 whole, and it actually got me a 4th round pick back for 24, as you can see that I didn't get. So Paris Campbell, not a big move, but it helps help the cause. All right. So then the next trade I made, I gave up $20 and I picked up 311 and 406. Again, this is why you make trades all year round. I noticed that this guy had cut down, Slick had cut down to 18 players or whatever. And I counted down how many players he had, right? And I actually made him an offer. I said, I'll give you, for these 2 picks, I'll give you $15. Well, he said, okay, I will do this. Put $20 down. I hit accept. Boom. I got some extra draft capital. I got a 3rd and a 4th round pick for 20 freaking bucks. All right. And this is going to be important because I had 310, so that added 311 to it. So I've got 2 picks right in a row. I think I missed putting in my draft capital, but you'll see all the picks that I got. So I added 2 picks for nothing. All right. So the next pick, I wound up giving up Bateman, who I had just gotten a couple trades before, right? But in return, I got 2, 9, 3, 4, a 3rd round pick in 24, and a 2nd round pick in 25. So now I've got an extra pick in 25 for giving up Bateman. I've got an extra pick next year in 24, which I was short picks, if you remember that screen. But I added 3, 4. I had 3, 3, so now I got 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, 10, and 3, 11. And that 4, 6. I add 2.9 to that. So now I've got a 2nd round pick, a mid-second. All right. So let's get into that. Hopefully this is all making sense. So now it all comes together. So I had 1, 7 and 2, 5 as my only 2 picks. Plus I had, if you remember what I had, a 1st, a 2nd, and a 3rd, which was the 3, 3. So, and 310, I think is what it was. Doesn't seem like I had that many picks. At any rate, I wound up giving up the boatload of draft picks for Breece Hall because I like Breece Hall. I needed Breece Hall. I'm scared of Kamara and his suspensions, but once Kamara comes back and somebody needs a team at the trade deadline, I'm hoping to move Kamara for a nice future asset or another running back or a younger running back or whatever it is. But he also wanted $100, so I gave him $100. So if you're keeping track, I spent $100 and $120 on getting assets all ready for blind bid bucks. Hopefully, I'm not going to make a whole lot of moves with this team. Hopefully, I'm making it solid enough. But in this trade, I wind up getting Breece Hall. A lot of people are angry with me because they said I stole him. So basically, I gave up 1, 7, and 2 mid to late second round picks and a couple of third round picks. This guy likes to make draft picks, so I let him do that. I'll take Breece Hall from him. A 21-year-old running back with a lot of upside. We like that. Okay. So then I had that 4-6 pick sitting there, and that's my last pick in the draft. And I'm like, now remember, I paid $20 for 3-11 and 4-6. Now I'm trading 4-6 back to 4-11. I'm picking up Tyler Higbee. If you remember, I didn't have a backup tight end. Now this gives me a backup tight end for moving back 5 spots off of, we'll say $10, right? So at $10, I get Tyler Higbee, and I still have 4-11. So that's not so bad, really. Almost got all my holes filled. I'm still missing a backup quarterback, but I think I'm pretty solid with everything else, right? So what happens? I just wind up making this trade. Well, not that. So I still had that 310 and that 311. I'm sorry. So a guy came to me and he wanted Gus Edwards and stuff, and we were going back and forth. So I wound up making this deal, making this offer to him, and he wound up accepting this one instead of taking Gus Edwards off of my roster. I was asking for Gus Edwards. I was going to give up 310, 311, and that 411, I think it was. So I was going to give up 3 picks, and I wanted back his second, and a third, and I think I was going to add in a third for his second and third and fourth in future years. But he wound up taking this. I gave him the alternate choice. I gave him 2 choices, and he chose this one. That's another good trade maneuver that I and a couple friends like it. I'll give you this package or this package. You choose. Sometimes it's 3 things. Depends on how close it is. But I always love making them choose because 9 times out of 10, they're going to choose the wrong thing. All right? So we'll go with that. So now I've gotten rid of picks 310 and 311 already now. So this is my last trade, and this vacates me of draft capital. I wound up getting Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford and for 411. Now this guy had 4 quarterbacks, and he just wanted to get rid of it and get them down. So basically he made this offer to me because he didn't want to carry these guys. He knew I only had 1 quarterback. I really didn't even want to take it, but for the value to take on Matt Stafford as my backup quarterback, why not? Who knows what happens with Deshaun Watson? Hopefully Stafford's arm's better and he comes back. Maybe even if Tom Brady comes out of retirement before this league drafts in just over a month, about a month, hopefully Tom Brady comes back and I can make some hay on him, get some draft capital. But 411 for Matthew Stafford is a pretty good steal. So that vacated me from all draft capital. So as you can see, this is what this is what it looks like as far as where my next pick is. 6.7, 7.7. So my draft is done. I don't have any draft capital for this year. But the thing is for next year. Hold on. Okay. So we're not quite there yet. So we're going to go through the list of what I gave up off of what I started with. So I showed you what I started with. I showed you the trades with what I made, and I'll show you what I wound up with and how much the roster looks better. Hopefully, it's at least balanced, it's at least done, and it's ready for lineups to be added. So basically, I gave up $20 in that one trade for the 2 picks. I gave up $100 in the Breece Hall trade. I gave up 1,725, 3,3, 310, Darnell Mooney, Terrace Marshall, Pierre Strong, and a 4th round pick in 25. That's what I gave up that I had on that starting roster and with the picks. That's all the capital I brought in. All right. So, these are the guys that I actually traded for, but then traded again. All right. So I traded for, and then I traded away. Rashad Bateman, I got a share of him, wound up moving him on in another deal. Paris Campbell, same thing. Pick 2, 9, 3, 4, 3, 11, 4, 6, and 4, 11. So when you first saw that first slide, you were probably thinking, God dang, you had more picks. You traded more for that than Breece Hall. But I traded for these picks, and then I traded them away. Remember, 311 and 46, I bought those for $20. 411 came from 46 by moving back for Higbee. So I'm trying to keep track of exactly what I had, what I gave up, what I moved back for, and everything. So this is what I wound up with the haul basically. So remember this. This is what I had to start with. $20, $100, 1725, 310 Darnell Mooney, Terrace Marshall, Pierre Strong, and a 4th-round pick in 2025. So really, the really valuable pieces kind of really are 17 and 25. All right, so let's go to what I actually have. I wound up getting Breece Hall. Wound up getting a backup quarterback with Matt Stafford. Wound up getting a backup tight end with Tyler Higbee. I got a young wide receiver who I think has upside, PPR upside, with Kyle Phillips. I got 2 second-round picks, future, 1 in 24 and 125. I got a 3rd-round pick in 24. I got an extra 4th-round pick in 24 and 25 to replace the one that I sent away. And I got Tom Brady, who is retired and probably is going to wind up being a cut. So, with all that being said, I think that's a pretty good haul for basically 17 and 25 and some early 3rd-round picks and a couple bucks, right? So, well, it looks like I got the slide in there twice. So that's where my draft capital was, right? So pick 1-6 is where I'm at. And so now this is what I look like with my draft capital now. Okay, so I've got a 1st next year, a 2nd, 2/3, and a 4th. I'm missing a 5th, but who really cares? By 25, if you remember, I started off, I was already down to having the 1, a 3. I was down to a 1 and a 3 basically in 24, and I had given away a 4th-round pick. So I was down to 5 picks when I started off with this, when I traded that 1st pick away in the first trade, all right, to get Bateman. So that shows you I rebuilt back my trade capital, and the team has a future again, all right? So let me see here, trying to find the right one. Oh, I did it under photo. There we go. So basically, this is what winds up being the roster that I finished with. Now, if you look at the very bottom down there, it tells you that there is 25 total players on the roster. And I think that there's probably very easily 3 cuts. Remember, I don't have any draft capital until 6-7. So in my mind, how I look at it is, if I would trade 6-7 for you, then I would trade you. I would make that cut. If I wouldn't trade 6-7 for you, I'm not, or if I wouldn't accept 6-7 for you, I'm not going to make that cut, right? So for example, Zonovan Knight, typically, if I'm at my cut line and Zonovan Knight's the last player to cut, he's picked player 22 on my roster, is Zonovan Knight worth 6-7? Or is he not? Is he worth less than 6-7? Right. So if he's worth more than 6-7, you keep him. If he's worth less than 6-7, you cut him. If you wouldn't trade for him at that point, you don't keep him. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's how I kind of process it. So like if I've got a defense and I've got 3rd and 4th-round picks, well, maybe I'll give up a 4th-round pick for a defense. But if I'm not, I'm going to cut that defense, and I'm going to draft somebody in the 4th round. So we don't have to worry about this. But if we look at the roster, obviously Tom Brady's probably a cut, being he's retired. So I've got Stafford and Deshaun Watson, not fabulous quarterbacks, not terrible quarterbacks. Hopefully between the 2 of them, I can get top 5-ish overall types of quarterback play out of them. Well, with Saquon, Gus, Najee, and Kamara, I better have one of the best running back crews in the league. The nice thing, I'm not going to say the nice thing, but I just did. The kind of nice thing about if Kamara gets suspended, maybe he's fresher at the end of the year. Maybe he's going to get more carries. Maybe he's going to do more and break more runs in a playoff run so that he can be used. It's awful nice to have that extra running back for the bye weeks and just for injuries. When a guy gets nicked up, you just go right to the next guy, put the 3 healthiest running backs in this situation, right? Nice part about having the 4 running backs is I don't have to use a wide receiver as a flex. My wide receivers are not that deep, so that's a concern. If Higbee is what Higbee was at the beginning of last year, along with Stafford, Higbee could be a flex player, but I'm not flexing him in for a running back. I would only flex him in for a wide receiver if I get stuck, all right? Because I obviously got Kelsey down there, which brings me to the problem part of this team. And hopefully I can get a bunch of solid wide receiver 2 seasons out of these guys. So with Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper, and Jerry Jeudy, if I can get 3 wide receiver 2 type seasons, I think that's equal. So okay, if I had a wide receiver 1, a wide receiver 2, and a wide receiver 3, as far as the levels, the points, if you get 3 wide receiver 2s, your point total should be very similar to having a 1, 2, and a 3. Because the 1 makes up for the 3 to the point of a 2. On an average, that's how I look at it. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping Burks can come on and be one of those guys. So I got some young wide receivers that are on the come, hopefully, here. Josh Palmer, depending on injuries, could be a good player. Like I said, Kyle Phillips, I think, is going to be a nice PPR type of play. So with that being said, my 3 cuts right now to get down to 25 probably are Brady, Jalen Tolbert, and probably Zonovan Knight. So I keep Gus the bus, and him, Mostert, Wilson, and Spiller are at the bottom of my list, maybe along with David Bell as far as cuts. So that gets me to a nice little lineup, a nice little cushion with some upside. So I'm excited about this team. I think this team has a shot to win. I'm not counting on it to win. I'm kind of counting on it to make some money, place in the money somewhere. So, but the nice part about what I did, I'm not going to be drafting. This is not a great draft. I had a couple of spots. The 2.5 bugs me not having that one because I think that there's going to be somebody there that I really wanted. But I'm happy getting Breece Hall instead of taking a flyer on a backup running back, hoping that he becomes something. I'd much rather have Breece Hall. I'd much rather have a solid, stable backup quarterback like Stafford. Somebody who I know can put up quarterback 1 type numbers if I put him in, right? The lineup. I'm happy to have Higbee as my backup tight end. I'm not a fan of Higbee, but as a backup tight end, hopefully he plays 1 game for me, and that's it. I think actually in this one, he's going to be on the bye, which really, when Kelsey him and Kelsey are on the same bye, which really sucks, but it is what it is. And I'll have to deal with that down the road. But he's a good insurance policy for Kelsey at this point because he could turn into a top 10 tight end. Well, that's what I have here for this show. As I said, this is C2, and we'll go from there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this team construction video, and we will leave it right here with that. And hopefully you guys maybe have learned something about trading early and often with dynasty picks. All right? Dynasty means all year. It doesn't mean from May until January. All right, with that said, have a great day. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Like, click, subscribe. Add some comments about how stupid I was and how terrible my trades were also. All right, have a great day.